is our second time around on Modern Learning on Air, and we hope it's as interesting and exciting for you as the first time around was. Our focus for this particular session is going to be looking at modern learning, obviously, but we're going to do it through the lens of a project that we run in our grade 10 program. The project itself explores local history, and the genesis of the project was developed together with the Ontario History Society about 2 years ago. Many of our students have been published by the Ontario History Society on their website itself. If you're ever interested, you can check out the Ontario History Society. But we are going to try and talk to you about how we incorporate the ideas of critical thinking, communication, creativity, and collaboration through the vehicle of this project. And you're going to hear from some of our grade 10 teachers, and you are going to hear from some of our grade 10 students as to how these ideas connected with the project and advance their skills. So I'm going to turn it over to the first member of our grade 10 history teaching team, whom you can see behind me in the tie, big tall blonde guy. His name is Ryan Kent. And that was our protracted school bell. But all right, over to Mr. Kent.
Thank you. As was mentioned, my name is Ryan Kent. I am the course lead of the grade 10 history course here at BCSS. And so we've broken it up into the 4 C's, as Darius was mentioning before. And so I had some students come in today to talk to you about the C of communication. So basically for this assignment, with communication, we have students look at the ways that they communicate with their community and the ways that they talk about and talk to people in their communities. And then they also put that into their assignment. So they can do their assignment in multiple different versions. So we have people who do PowerPoint, people who do videos, people who do reports, people who do all kinds of different ways that they can communicate their findings, and also how they communicate with the people in their community to get the information and the research for the assignment. So I have 2 students here with me who are going to speak to you about that and their experiences with communication. So I have Mackenzie and Maddie who are going to talk to you about that.
I'm Mackenzie Hiscott, and a communication skill that I use in my local history assignment on the Markham Fair was having to phone my local museum and book an appointment to meet with them and talk to them. This phone call was more formal than what I'm used to, and is something that I don't necessarily do all the time, but it's something that I had to do for this assignment. Once I arrived at the museum, I was given a tour of the Markham Fair setup, and I was able to ask questions and clarify my understanding about the information that I was being given. In the future, as I'm given more responsibilities, I will be more confident and comfortable interacting with and learning from people who have more knowledge in the field than I do. This will allow me to gain more information and expand on my own knowledge.
So as mentioned, my name is Madeline Grossi, and in my local history assignment on the Sutton Fair and Horse Show, I reached out to other members of the fair to gather information on this specific topic. I feel as if analyzing text in the book I was provided and reflecting on the modern day traditions was one way I communicated with my community. I was able to thoroughly study the information and consider how certain events and activities have changed or stayed the same over time. For example, I learned that the fair had started off as a one-day event in October, but has expanded to a 4-day fair in August. Communicating by analyzing text has helped me develop the skills for future school projects in order to be able to research a topic and think about, from my own experiences, how events have developed over time. Having this skill will be useful to me in the future, as I will be able to look back at events from my generation and personally reflect on the past while communicating my findings.
Hi, my name is Ms. Spagamenni, and I'm one of the grade 10 teachers. My class, we focus on collaboration within the local history project. So collaboration is very significant in our classrooms because it allows students to make local connections within their community. As one of the requirements for the local history project, students had to gather both primary and secondary resources by visiting libraries, museums, and landmarks, as well as speak with experts. For the steps to success for their assignment, collaboration was important for their preliminary research, and they had to write a 100-word paragraph describing how they use collaboration within their project. We mark collaboration with both thinking and application for this assignment because it's an important aspect for them in their research process. So I'm going to ask my students now, how is collaboration effective during the research process of your local history project?
Hi everyone, my name is Audrey Lingo. So for my history project, I decided to focus on my town of Stouffville. I decided to collaborate with the local museum on this project as I felt it would be the most helpful with finding information on historical landmarks in Stouffville. So I connected with Krista Rochenstein, who was the program coordinator at the museum over the phone, and I made an appointment for when I could make it to the museum. We discussed what topics would be the most suitable for my project and resources that were historically significant, and I focused on areas in Stouffville that I was the most interested in learning about. Collaboration was effective for the research portion of my project because with the help of the museum, I was able to look at primary sources. For example, I was able to see newspapers and blueprints of landmarks, such as the clock tower from the 1900s. I was also able to incorporate aerial pictures of my town from the 1900s and analyze the proposals for the land use developments that occurred in Stouffville throughout the time period. And this helped me better understand the way of life back then.
My name is Josh, and I chose the task of exploring the contributions of an individual from my community in Vaughan. I researched the life of Annesley St. Dag, who is remembered for being one of the frontline nurses who served in World War I. I assessed primary sources and online archives first for both Vaughan and Ontario, and then I helped identify the general topic and its relevance. But going through archives at York University allowed me to directly access to both a librarian and an archivist who helped me further develop the focus of this project. These exploratory conversations helped me deeply develop not only my understanding of a topic, but helped me better understand the lived experiences of Annesley and her colleagues. Finally, an important part of living and experiencing history is making a connection to physical evidence of Annesley's existence. So going to the Bishop Strachan School Chapel in Toronto, where there's a physical memorial to her, means I was engaging with the products of the historians and researchers who had gone there before me. This was an important part of the collaborative research process. So collaboration in some form or another positively influences the research project because the topic developed through data collection and production of the final report.
Hello, everybody. I'm Debbie Wong. I'm one of the history teachers here. So what we're going to be talking about is critical thinking in terms of this project. When it came to critical thinking, we were mostly focusing on the historical thinking concepts. So there's primary sources, cause and consequence, historical significance, historical perspective, continuity change, and ethical dimensions in history. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but just as a sample, the students had to go and visit sites. And so when they actually visit the sites, that's an example of a studying from a primary source. Now, the sites might have changed. There might have been renovations and stuff, but actually being there is of value. You can find and you can learn things just by actually being there. And to connect with historical perspectives, if there was a tower, let's say, what was the tower used for? What did they, what was it like for the people at the time? And then if there were renovations, what were the purpose of the renovations? Were they helpful? How did they help out? But maybe the most important historical thinking concept that we took a look at was historical significance. So if we think about why were these sites developed? What were they used for? What can we learn from them? That was really mostly what we were looking at. So I have Keontae and I have Madison here, and they're going to talk about how they applied historical thinking concepts with this project.
So in my local history project, I decided to do a tour of the town of Vaughan. And because Vaughan consists of 5 little towns, I decided to pick a memorial tower called the Woodbridge Memorial Tower that is located in Woodbridge. And this tower was constructed by one person, a stonemaker who designed it and constructed it. It got constructed over time. And this tower was used as a memorial for all the soldiers that came from Woodbridge to go fight in the war. I definitely use critical thinking here because in my historical significance, when I visited the site, I was able to see that it was significant to people because it was a place that they can go mourn for their losses and for other people to see all the sacrifice that they made to go to the war. And it was also significant because it was a place that people could remember what happened in the war and how people gave their lives to help us. So historical significance, so this tower is really significant to the town of Woodbridge.
Hi, my name is Madison Hum, and for my local history project, I did a heritage tour of Markham, Ontario. And in terms of critical thinking, I definitely utilize the historical thinking concept of historical significance to show the importance of each event in Markham. So for one of my landmarks, I chose Mount Joy Village. So to provide some context about Mount Joy Village, it was at first separate from the city of Markham, but they couldn't afford resources like electricity, clean water, and streetlights. So Markham then took them in to become a unified community. So I use critical thinking by explaining the historical significance of this event. It ultimately showed how Markham represented a strong and unified community as they were able to take in Mount Joy in a time where they needed help and were struggling. Mount Joy was also a significant landmark as the site was used for agricultural purposes, which was definitely used to help the current struggle with men going off to war at this time. The community was still able to execute a deal with this village despite all the obstacles that they had faced. I was required to think critically, so I connected Mount Joy's historical significance to what was going on currently in the First World War. In this assignment, the use of historical thinking concepts and critical thinking made me dive deeper into the significance of these historical events.
Hello, my name is Rachel Matthew. I'm also part of the history team. Today we're going to be talking to you about creativity. So for creativity, it's the ability to produce novel and useful ideas. Sorry, pulling up my notes here. And this is definitely an important educational outcome. When designing these assessments, having creativity in mind, it's important to allow our students to practice these creative thinking and divergent thinking skills. And with these divergent thinking skills, we can assess their creative outputs through things such as their fluency, flexibility, originality, and their elaboration. So for this local history assignment, students explored a variety of tools so they could acquire facts and information, research about either their community, their town, their city, or their community. Being able to take all of these diverse resources and transforming that research into a piece of work that was fluid, flexible, and original showed their creative thinking skills, and furthermore allowed for them to elaborate on these historical significances. So today I have Athavan and Nicole, and they're going to share with you how they were able to explore creativity through their local history assignments. Go ahead, Athavan.
Oh, my name is Athavan, and for my local history project, I was able to use a lot of sources to learn about Markham's unique history and how it developed as a community. For instance, two of the places I researched about were donated to the Markham Museum, which were the Cedar Grove Blacksmith Shop and the Markham Local Print Shop. I actually went to Markham Museum, and I was able to gather facts and images thanks to a tour guide, which helped me understand the values of how these places impacted Markham. Also, the rest of the sites I chose were from Markham Village, which consisted of Franklin Street Public School, the Markham Village GO Station, and the Markham Village Town Hall. I found some good, credible sites such as the official website of Markham to help me find brief information on the significance of those landmarks. I used that information to even create a little Bristol board on Markham's history at the YRDSB Heritage Fair. Overall, this project allowed me to express my creativity by going out to my city and finding information on the history of Markham.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole, and for my local history assignment, I was presented with a challenge to be collaborative with my community. Although I could have found my information on the internet, I demonstrated and used my creativity by going out into my community and collecting the information required for my assignment. I utilized the plaques that were located on the site of the Woodbridge Memorial Tower, as well as my research and personal information because I am familiar with the site. And using creativity in this assignment has helped me as a student in many different aspects.
Okay, folks, I hope you have got some sense of the project. We will be more than happy if this project is of interest to you to share the project with you, to encourage interest in local history, to promote modern learning, and to promote especially the 4 C's that are part of modern learning. While I was off air, I was reminded about 2 things. One is that people might not recognize me from the last time around because I don't have my mustache on. I lost that a little while ago. Secondly, I failed to tell you who I was. So my name is Darius Barucha, and I am the head of the history department here at Bill Crothers. As you can see, our grade 10 program is engaging. It provides a lot of learning. We have some wonderful students who dive into history, and we have a great team of teachers on our grade 10 team. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope we provided you with some ideas and some learning. We'll see you next year. Bye.